Hello, Keith Daffron with Vexus Boats. I'm here today to tell you about this VXs21. I just competed out of this boat, so it gave me some real seat time, spent days on the water in it. And I'm just gonna begin by telling you, in over 30 years of competitive tournament fishing, I've been in a lot of nice boats. Some I thought were far and above anything else that had ever been produced, but this one is in a level or a bar all of its own. I'm gonna tell you about that. I'm gonna tell you what some of those features and advancements are and why I'm able to say that. You have to begin on the front deck by understanding this boat just likes 1 inch being 22 feet long. So it's not a small competitive tournament boat, it's big. And it's big on purpose because it's for ride, comfort, and space. And that space begins on this front deck where I'm standing. What we've done with this fork design, and it's been incorporated since inception, but we continue to refine it, is having a beam forward understanding because of 2 reasons. You're either up here together or need that extra space to flip shallow water to get in under a boat dock float, for example, or with the forward-facing sonar cranes that you actually see set up here, oftentimes you're standing side by side with somebody. In fact, this one's set up with 2 forward-facing units, so as a team we can compete and have a turret on one side, one attached to the shaft. And after doing that for a period of days, you understand the competitive advantage that it gives you. You've also got plenty of room to lay your rods on the front deck. The deck's raised but still has a toe kick on it. So I can skip a jig without worry of being encumbered by the gunnel, but it also gives me the peace of mind that I can lay my rods there and make a quick run-on plane across the cove. Underneath this big front deck is just a series of rod and storage boxes. It's anchored by this big front center box. I think it's important to see we've put this high density rubber on this front center lid, and that's important because we've all sat right here and a few seconds later realized our carpet was still damp. So you're able to visually tell that this is dry. But with the VXS series, you can incorporate this high density rubber throughout the front and rear decks. So that's an option worth considering. It's just not shown on this particular boat. But underneath here, you'll see my partner and I have this one set up specifically or exclusively for our forward-facing sonar spinning rod. So that's all that's in here with some tackle down underneath that you're able to get to, but you're probably not likely going to use on a regular basis. The port side rod box will hold 9-foot rods, and you just see a lot of conventional tackle in here. Flipping sticks, jig rods, all those things. There's probably 20 rods in here, and there's still ample room to add more to it. One thing we've done since inception is focused on making sure these boxes are truly dry boxes. We do that by evacuating water, having a taller raised dam to get that water off of the lid itself. And all of these seals are there just to ensure that you've got a dry compartment. Let's just face it, we carry so much tackle today and it's so expensive, you want to be able to preserve and protect it. In front of the console, the driver's console, is a day box. And in our case, it's forward-facing sonar. It's just a series of jig head minnows and jigs and other things that you can quickly add to because you're regurgitating them throughout the day. Then in front of that is a catch-all box. You'll see us using it to store rain suits, the hoodie we took off later in the morning, obviously our life jackets, first aid kit, all those necessities that you want to have and need a place to stow them. So you've got so many square feet from here forward to do the business at hand, which is to go out and fish, and in many cases competitively. As I take us from the front deck down into the cockpit, this is one of those areas I really want to emphasize because in the sea of sameness of competitive bass boats or fiberglass bass boats, so much of this area is the same in terms of there's fuel located, you've generally got your seat screwed to something incredibly firm so you can feel every single vibration and wave, but that's not what we've done. We've incorporated the fuel down in the keel of the boat, which freed up this entire cockpit. So now this 58 gallons of fuel is linear down inside this boat, and I'm just going to tell you it makes a world of difference in the stability of the boat, especially as you're in a competitive environment. If you're the ladder boat in a late flight, for instance, this boat, it corrects itself so much better that have fuel sitting crossways that's really magnifying what's happening. But in addition to the fuel being in the floor, it opens up the cockpit and gives us some freedom to bring some innovation into the place. I'm going to talk about them individually. First of all, let's talk about storage, because we all need a place to throw our stuff. We've used, since inception, this slide-out drawer underneath the front step. What's nice about it is it's convenient, it's dry, and it's easy to close. I oftentimes just kick it with my toe. That shuts it, but inside here, you'll see respective areas to store your sunglasses, to put a towel, a snack. You'll have your air pump for your airwave pedestals. Lots of different things accumulate in this drawer. But on the VXS series, we've added this pull-out trash tray, I'll call it. And it's even got hooks for you to take a plastic bag and to hook to it and store your soft plastics that have been used and other things you collect through the day. But I use it for something else. I use it as my culling station. So inside here is my Bubba scale, balance beam, fin clips, and even extra floats. What it does is it keeps the slime out of that drawer, and it's real easy to access because you're doing your culling down in the cavity of the boat where you're not worried about your fish escaping. Outside of the storage that I just showed you is this insulated cold spot cooler. It's something else, really. In the competitive environment I was just in, I just needed to add ice every other day as I fueled the boat, and it was warm outside. So it's incredibly insulated. There's multiple waters, Gatorade, sunblock, all able, and what's nice about it is you're able to grab it now. And I even, as I drink a drink as we're running down the lake, you're able to just throw it back in there real quick and get a quick swallow and go to your next spot. Where it really gets innovative is at the helm and the seats themselves. So these are airwave pedestals. They're pneumatic, and you're able to adjust that air pressure to your weight so as it doesn't bottom out. And that really acts as a strut almost, and it gives you, especially in chop, you'll really find the boat to be much more comfortable to ride in. These seats are new for this year, where we've incorporated a solid fiberglass shell. That gives the entire seat some added protection. And, you know, for instance, this net can hit against that, and I don't have to worry about it tearing my vinyl. Less places for hooks to grab, that sort of thing. But as I sit down in the helm, other things that we've done on the specific to the VXS is incorporated digital switching, one-touch digital switching that has an override underneath the console. So if I were to have an issue on the water, there's redundancy built in. Additional redundancy is depending on the depth finder application. In this instance, it's Garmin. I'm able to turn my Livewells on and off at the bow or the console units. Down underneath there is a nice place to lay your phone, a cup holder. But what I really like are these little trays that are down in the floor. You'll see I've got my tie ropes laid here where they don't blow around. Oftentimes I'll lay a thermos of coffee or something in there so it's not rolling around. And then here at the helm, I'm using a Merck system monitor, which gives me diagnostics and fuel flow from the outboard through the NEMA technology, and a Fusion stereo that's also tied into the Garmin depth finder with speakers behind both the driver and passenger seat. And then, as always, this Coast Key digital ignition. I'd encourage you to really look into this. It's a foolproof system that has a key fob that can be added that acts as an additional kill switch and gives you a multitude of controls outside of having to touch the keypad itself. And then in my instance, I've actually got another set of Raptor switches here so I can anchor as I'm pulling up to the dock. On the passenger side, it's just as important to understand the comfort over here. So passenger has their own cup holder. There's also cup holders at the back of the cooler, trays to lay that bait you just took off, and a running rod rack to lay and strap your rods into place so you can ride right here. Obviously, we sell it in a dual console application, which gives you additional protection from the elements. Behind the driver passenger seat, I think one of the cooler things is a place to store this big monstrosity. So it's not in your way anymore. It's just tucked away down inside this tray, rides comfortably, but it's easy to access. So at the end of the day, I think it's just understand that this cockpit, especially on the new VXS20, and in this case, the VXS21, is just far and away different, and it gives you so much flexibility, comfort. You know, for instance, I can kneel right here and cull my fish without having those obstructions that you would have in something else. As I start to talk about the rear deck, I think I want to emphasize the Livewell. Our intensive care Livewell, it's patented by the way, we've had since inception, but with the VXS series, so many of us are using it in a world where we're tournament fishing. Weight is money. Live fish is money. You've got this cover lid, which is also very nice because you can check on your catch throughout the day without any worry of them escaping. It's happened before where fish just takes a notion and jumps out of the live well. Well, you've got a secondary set of lids here, and these clear lids give you visual access to the fish, but for physical access, they're on a friction hinge, okay? So now, if I know based on what my scale has told me that fish number one or buoy number one's the one that needs culled, I can visually find him, open the lid, pull him out. There's not much fanfare involved, it's just simple. But what's really cool about the intensive care Livewell system is what we're doing to protect the catch. You've got an oxygenator standard, a venturi aeration system, and then a traditional aeration system. But on top of that, we have an intensive care mode. And how I use it, and there's instructions on the lid to do this, how I use it is when I know I'm towards the end of the day and I've got to make a long run back and it's probably in rough conditions, I simply turn this valve from normal to full, roughly 5 minutes before I leave. What happens then is it fills this Livewell to the brim and seals off the fish so they're not sloshing. They're not beating against each other or the other parts of the Livewell or the spray head for the aerator. They're protected and your catch is much safer as a result of it. And so then once I get back to the weigh-in area or come off plane, you just simply turn this back to normal and that water exhausts out through the overflow to its traditional level, which makes it much easier to catch your fish, put in the sack, and weigh them. But just, I guess, enough about the intensive care Livewell other than know this, that pounds are money. We know that. We've worked hard to incorporate features and benefits that'll help ensure your fish are lively and we're conserving our catch. On the rear deck, you've got plenty of room, but underneath are these huge boxes. And these boxes have shelves incorporated up against this front bulkhead. Great place to lay a glide bait you just need quick access to. In this instance, we got a couple of spools of line, but I store a lot of excess tackle on both sides of this boat in these rear storage boxes. The other thing it does is it puts a lot of that weight toward the stern. So this excess tackle's back here acting as ballast to give me more bow lift. And then something that I'm pretty proud of is what we've done on the battery area. You'll see it neat, clean, tidy. The wires are all in the right place. And we've used a gray primer to bring out the light, make it much easier to see. But what's really important are the guts of the electrical system itself. Not only the digital switching I talked about earlier, but now you have a 6-gauge Vexus view harness running from this main battery or your slave battery to the console and bow depth finder separately. And I'm telling you, it makes a difference on the clarity of forward-facing sonar. It's not just how much power is at your battery, it's how much is going to your head unit. So we've incorporated that in standard on all of these VXS boats. Another thing that's kind of nice is just their stern light's able to store here where you need it. It's not up there tucked up under 3 rain suits and 2 life jackets. And then a very neat, tidy splash well area. The bulkhead fittings for the hydraulic steering, that's standard. You see it with these Raptor shallow water anchors. We're using wedges. They're not attached to the jack plate, or they're the same apparatus that's attached to the outboard. It gives you much more stability over time, because you got to remember, these boats, we're designing them to last not just for the time that you're going to own it, but for the next customer and the next. So it's thought through the fit and finish is throughout this boat. And so I think it's just important to know that we've just continued to innovate. You know, we came out with the VX20, VX21. Now you see the VXS20 and the VXS21, and it's just us trying to build the next one better than the last one. And there's enough features and benefits in this. I really think you need to take a hard look at it, because I'm telling you, as I said when we started, I've not been in a better fishing machine. So I've gotten out of the boat itself, because as I wind this down, there's really 2 more incredibly important ingredients I want to talk about. The first one being the running surface or the hull of this VXS21 itself. So compared to its predecessor, the running surface is exactly the same, but the deck itself is about 1.5 inches narrower. So the boat is thinner in overall profile. But down in the running surface, there's things like reverse chines and keel forward designs and all sorts of stuff that I could just give you buzzwords. But I'm here to tell you this, that as far as an overall riding performance and comfort, there's not a better bass boat out there. I've been in a lot of them, and others are testifying to the same degree that when you want a boat that has a superior ride to anything else out there, this hull's the one that you're after. The second part is the trailer itself, because let's face it, this boat's going to spend most of its time on the trailer, and with today we travel long distances, we travel at high rates of speed. Since inception, we've built our own trailer. We hadn't changed our mind along the way. We hadn't sourced it to the lowest bidder and then realized that was a mistake. What we've done is we've invested in our own manufacturing facility just to build these trailers. And what you get as a customer are innovations like this swinging step that comes standard on the boat. What's important is that makes it easy to access, but it also tows away so it doesn't get into your tow vehicle in a sharp hotel parking lot. We put the belly spare down under the keel of the boat. That gives me visibility as a driver of this clearance light on the shoulder of the road. Channel frame design with a polyurea coating that's just built to last as long as this boat's going to. Matching fiberglass fenders, oil bath hubs, 17-inch aluminum wheels. I could rattle on for a long time, but I'm just telling you that it's so important to understand and weigh out how this trailer ties into the overall purchase decision, because when you're making that pilgrimage, however far to whatever destination, this is something you don't want to have to worry about. We're doing the worrying for you in that instance, trying to design and have designed a trailer that's built to last as long as this boat will. We're really here to build your dream. That's all we care about. That's what we get up to do every day. And one way to understand that is to experience one of these boats. I'd encourage you to go to our website, Vexus21.com. Reach out to us. We love to hear from you. We got ambassadors and dealers all across this country that are as excited as we are to show you and take you for a demo. And I so appreciate your time and attention today. Just know that our company's founded on the very principles that this boat conveys, is a quality product with service both before, during, and after the sale, built by people that have a true passion for it.